The Chargers, they're really in a tough spot.
Yeah.
They need to make the playoffs. But Herbert, their star quarterback, is battling 2 injuries.
It is concerning for sure.
The leg contusion from the Chief game was already a problem, but this ankle injury, now that really complicates things.
Right.
We don't have all the details yet
Yeah.
about this new ankle injury, but it seems like that's a bigger concern than the contusion.
It is. We know he played through the pain of the contusion in week 14, so
Yeah.
he is tough, but ankle injuries really impact a quarterback's mobility and their throwing mechanics. So it'll be interesting to see how it affects him, especially because he relies on his mobility to extend plays.
Harbaugh has said that Herbert's doing everything he can to be ready for the Buccaneers game.
Yeah.
But realistically, what are the chances we see him on the field this weekend?
It's difficult to say without knowing the severity of that ankle injury.
Of course.
If it's a minor sprain, he might be able to play with some discomfort, but something more serious, like a high ankle sprain, that could sideline him for a few weeks.
And if he's out for a few weeks, that would be a huge blow to their playoff hopes.
Oh, absolutely. Herbert is the heart and soul of that Chargers offense.
Yeah.
Chase Daniel is an okay backup, but he's no Justin Herbert.
No, he's not. Let's look at the playoff picture a little more. The Chargers are currently 8-5, which puts them in a decent position for a wild card spot.
Right.
But how much does their playoff seeding hinge on Herbert's health for the rest of the season?
Their remaining schedule is actually pretty favorable.
Okay.
They face Tampa Bay, Denver, New England, and then Las Vegas. 3 of those teams have losing records.
Yeah.
And the Patriots haven't exactly been setting the world on fire this season.
So are you saying that even if Herbert misses a game or two,
Yes.
they could still potentially win enough to secure a playoff spot?
It is possible, but seeding is crucial in the playoffs.
Right.
A higher seed means a better chance of advancing, potentially even a first-round bye.
Yeah.
And that's where Herbert's presence becomes so critical.
So of their remaining games, which would you say is the most crucial, the one they absolutely need to win?
Week 16 against Denver really stands out to me.
Okay.
They already beat the Broncos once this season.
Right.
And a second win would secure the head-to-head tiebreaker, which could be vital if they end up tied in the standings.
Can you quickly explain what a head-to-head tiebreaker is for those who might not be familiar?
Of course, if 2 teams finish the season with the same record, the NFL uses various tiebreakers to determine playoff seeding. One of the first tiebreakers they look at is the head-to-head record between those 2 teams.
Okay.
So if the Chargers and Broncos finish with identical records, that Week 16 win would give the Chargers the edge.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's say Herbert is able to play against the Buccaneers this week.
Yeah.
How do you think he'll perform, considering he'll likely be playing through pain?
Well, he's a tough player. He has shown that he can play at a high level even when he's injured, but it's fair to assume that he won't be at 100%.
Right. He'll likely have some limitations in terms of his mobility.
Exactly. And that could affect his ability to escape pressure and make plays outside the pocket, which is something he excels at.
So do you think the Chargers will adjust their game plan to accommodate his potentially limited mobility?
Oh, I would expect them to make some adjustments.
Okay.
They might rely more on short, quick passes to get the ball out of his hands faster and reduce the risk of him taking those big hits.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They do have a talented receiving core with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yes.
So those short passes could be effective. But how do you think this potential shift in offensive strategy might impact their overall offensive production?
It's a balancing act.
Right.
While shorter passes can be efficient, they also limit the potential for explosive plays downfield, and that's where Herbert's arm strength and accuracy usually shine.
So it seems like the Chargers are facing a real dilemma here.
They are.
A tough situation for any team to be in, especially with the playoffs on the line. Let's move on and discuss the Buccaneers matchup in more detail. What are your thoughts on this game, particularly considering the Buccaneers' defensive strengths?
The Buccaneers, even though they don't have Brady anymore, they still pose a considerable challenge. Their defense is formidable, especially their pass rush.
They have a reputation for getting to the quarterback and putting a lot of pressure on them. So how do you think the Chargers' offensive line will hold up against that pressure, especially if Herbert's mobility is compromised?
That's going to be a key matchup to watch. The Chargers' offensive line has been fairly solid this season.
Yeah.
But they're going to need to be at their best to protect Herbert.
Yeah.
If he's not able to move around as freely, he'll be a sitting duck back there. there.
And the Buccaneers secondary is nothing to sneeze at either. They have some talented players back there who can make life difficult for even the best receivers.
They do. They have a knack for creating turnovers and making big plays in crucial moments.
Right.
The Chargers receivers will need to be sharp and run precise routes to get open.
Sounds like the Chargers offense is going to have their work cut out for them in this game.
It won't be easy, that's for sure. They'll need to be creative and execute their game plan flawlessly to move the ball against this Buccaneers defense.
But let's not forget the Buccaneers also have a potent offense, even without Brady.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They still have a wealth of offensive weapons. You know, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette. They can score points in bunches if you give them the opportunity.
So this game could turn into a little bit of a shootout.
It's definitely a possibility. Both teams have the offensive firepower to put up points.
Yeah.
But it will likely come down to which defense can make the key stops.
We've talked a lot about Herbert and the impact of his injury.
Right.
But what if he can't go this week? How confident are you in Chase Daniel's ability to step in and lead this team to victory?
Chase Daniel, he's a veteran quarterback. He has a lot of experience, but he's not a starter caliber player.
Right.
He's more of a game manager, someone who can come in and avoid making costly mistakes.
So you're saying the Chargers' offensive strategy would change significantly with Daniel under center?
I think they would rely more on the running game.
Yeah.
Try to control the clock. They wouldn't want to put too much on Daniel's shoulders.
That makes it Austin Eckler is a dynamic running back.
Yeah.
They could certainly lean on him.
Right.
But how do you think the Buccaneers would adjust their defensive approach if they knew Daniel was starting?
Oh, they'd likely stack the box to stop the run.
Okay.
They could force Daniel to beat them with his arm. Dare him to make those throws he's not necessarily comfortable making.
So it seems like the Chargers are facing a tough challenge either way, whether Herbert plays or not. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the bigger picture.
Okay.
The AFC playoff picture is incredibly tight this year. Several teams are still vying for those 7 playoff spots.
It's a dogfight for sure. Every game matters down the stretch, and every injury could have a significant impact on those final standings.
The Chiefs currently hold the top seed, but they haven't clinched anything yet.
The Bills, Bengals, Dolphins are all right there.
Yeah.
And then you have a cluster of teams, including the Chargers, Ravens, Jets, Jaguars, all fighting for those wild card spots.
It's going to be an exciting finish to the season, but let's focus back on the Chargers for a moment. We talked about the importance of playoff seeding.
Right.
Could you elaborate on why a higher seed is so crucial?
A higher seed offers several advantages. First and foremost, it often means a home playoff game in the wild card round. And playing in front of your home crowd, that can provide a significant boost.
That home field advantage can definitely make a difference.
It can impact who you play in the later rounds, too.
Right.
The higher you are seeded, the more likely you are to face a weaker opponent.
And that could be the difference between a deep playoff run and an early exit.
Exactly. So every win from here on out is crucial for the Chargers, not just to make the playoffs, but to position themselves for the best possible run.
And that brings us back to Herbert's health.
His availability could very well determine how far this team can go.
If he can play at a high level, they have the potential to be a real contender. But if he's limited or sidelined, their chances diminish significantly.
It's a delicate balance between risking further injury and maximizing his potential impact on the field.
Speaking of risk, let's talk about the Chargers' backup quarterback situation for a moment. We know Chase Daniel is the backup. But what kind of track record does he have?
Chase Daniel has been in the league a long time, but mostly as a backup.
Right.
He's a seasoned veteran, but he hasn't really had much success as a starter.
So you wouldn't necessarily consider him a reliable option if Herbert is out for an extended period?
He could probably manage the game and avoid making too many mistakes, but he wouldn't be able to elevate the team's performance the way Herbert can.
That's a little concerning considering how competitive the AFC is and the Chargers' playoff aspirations. It really seems like their hopes hinge on Herbert's health.
He is their franchise quarterback, and they really need him healthy if they want to make a deep playoff run.
Their remaining schedule, they have 4 games left, starting with the Buccaneers this week, followed by the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Raiders.
It looks like a pretty favorable schedule on paper.
It does?
But they can't afford to overlook any of these teams. Every game is a must-win if they want to secure a playoff spot and improve their seeding.
Especially with the AFC being as competitive as it is this year.
It's going to be an exciting finish to the season for the Chargers.
It is, and it seems like their fate really rests on Herbert's shoulders. We'll be watching closely to see how it all unfolds. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.